Captain Kim Ju-won stood alone at the viewport, shoulders tense as she watched the dock workers point and laugh. Their mockery wasn't subtle, snickering behind hands, exaggerated gestures, and the occasional outright laughter that carried through the station's common areas, all directed at her ship, the Stellar Whisper *. She pressed her palm against the cool glass. The experimental vessel sat in its berth, looking nothing like the sleek warships that typically docked at Orbital Station 7. Where other ships had elegant lines and symmetrical designs, the Whisper * resembled several different vessels smashed together by a distracted child. Its front section was narrow and pointed, while its midsection bulged outward in a series of uneven compartments. The drive section at the rear protruded awkwardly, housing the experimental propulsion system that was the ship's reason for existing. Another admirer of our beautiful lady, Engineer Park Tae-hyun's voice came from behind her. Ju-won didn't turn around. 3 dock technicians and an Admiralty courier so far this morning. Tae-hyun joined her at the window, his reflection appearing beside hers in the glass. His uniform was slightly rumpled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes from the all-night work session on the drive systems. "They'll change their tune when we show what she can do," he said. "If we get the chance." Ju-won finally turned from the viewport. "The Admiralty is talking about scrapping the project." Admiral Ba called her a resource drain in yesterday's communication. "The Admiralty calls it resource-efficient design to our faces," Ju-won continued with a tight smile. "Everyone else just calls it the space potato." Tae-hyun's laugh was forced. "Well, potatoes are hardy, nutritious, can grow almost anywhere. Let's hope our potato can do more than grow. We need it to fly. And soon." Ju-won moved away from the viewport toward the central briefing table, where star charts and technical schematics were spread out. The mockery stung, but it wasn't what truly angered her. What infuriated Ju-won was watching the galactic hegemony ships come and go from the station as if they owned it, which, effectively, they did. For nearly 30 years, the alien empire had controlled human space, presenting themselves as protectors and guides, while systematically stripping colony worlds of resources and imposing crushing taxes. The hegemony's sleek, dark ships resembled predatory fish, all curves and hidden weapons. They moved with a confidence born of absolute power. The aliens themselves were equally intimidating. Tall, with iridescent scales that caught the light, and 4-fingered hands that ended in subtle claws. They carried themselves like conquerors, which they were. Commander Lee Hyun-woo entered the briefing room, his uniform perfectly pressed despite the early hour. "Captain, we've received clearance for tomorrow's test run. Limited to the inner system only." "Better than nothing," Ju-won replied, studying the navigation charts. The station's announcement system chimed. "Attention. Hegemony vessels approaching docking bays 4 through 6. All human personnel are reminded to observe proper protocols." Hyun-woo's jaw tightened. The proper protocols meant staying out of the way, offering assistance if requested, and accepting any treatment without complaint. Complaints went into permanent records, and those with such marks rarely advanced in their careers. "Shall we go welcome our overlords?" Ju-won asked with false brightness. "It's not required," Hyun-woo responded. "But educational," she countered. "I want to see their latest ships up close." They made their way to the main concourse, where 3 hegemony patrol ships were completing docking procedures. The aliens' vessels connected to the station with precision, their hulls gleaming under the lights. Several officers, high-ranking ones, judging by their ornate uniform markings, stepped onto the station. The lead officer, taller than the others with silver-blue scales, surveyed the area with obvious disdain. His gaze stopped on the viewing window that displayed the Stellar Whisper * in its berth. "What is that?" he asked a human dock manager, who hurried to explain. "Experimental vessel, stir. Human Navy research project." The hegemony officers gathered at the window, their expressions shifting from curiosity to amusement. Several made chuffing sounds, their version of laughter. Primitives playing at spaceflight, the lead officer remarked loudly enough for everyone to hear. It looks like it was assembled from garbage. Juan felt heat rise in her face. Hyunwoo placed a warning hand on her arm. "Not worth it," he murmured. "I know," she replied through gritted teeth. The aliens moved on, still chuckling among themselves. Juan and Hyunwoo returned to their ship, passing more snickering dock workers on the way. One day, Juan said quietly, "They won't be laughing." Back aboard the Stellar Whisper *, the crew was busy with pre-flight checks for the next day's test. Despite being deemed failures or misfits by the regular Navy, each crew member was brilliant in their own way. They were the perfect team for an imperfect ship. In the engine room, Technician Choi Minji was running diagnostics on the experimental drive. The youngest crew member at 24, she had been relegated to the Whisper * after questioning the superior officer's engine modifications too persistently. Her intuitive understanding of physics had already improved the drive's efficiency by 16%. "Captain on deck," someone called as Juan entered. "As you were," she replied automatically. "Minji, how are our engines looking?" The young technician didn't look up from her console. "Strange," she muttered. "I'm seeing energy pattern fluctuations I can't explain." Juan moved closer. "Problem?" "Not sure." Minji's fingers flew across the displays. "The harmonics are unusual. The energy doesn't dissipate according to standard models." Taehyun joined them, peering at the readings. "Could be a sensor malfunction. I checked 3 different systems," Minji replied. "Same results." Hours later, after most of the crew had gone to their quarters for the night, Ji-won sat in the ship's small mess hall with Taehyun, Hyunwoo, and Minji. The technician had called an urgent meeting. "I figured it out," Minji said, eyes bright with excitement. "Our drive doesn't just bend space like we thought. It creates a harmonic resonance that affects how energy is perceived." "Meaning?" Juan asked. "Meaning our emissions don't register normally on standard sensors." Minji pulled up a simulation on her tablet. "Look, this is how a normal ship appears to hegemony scanners." The display showed a bright energy signature, clear and trackable. "And this is us." She switched to another image. The Whispers energy signature appeared faint, almost ghost-like. "It's still visible," Hyunwoo noted. "Yes, but..." Minji adjusted the display. "This is with slight modifications to our existing system. We can tune the harmonic to match the blind spots in hegemony sensor technology." The signature now appeared as barely a flicker. "You're saying we could be invisible to them?" Juan asked, leaning forward. "Not optically invisible," Minji clarified. "But to their tracking systems. Nearly. They couldn't get weapons lock on us. Couldn't track our trajectory accurately. Might not even notice us at all if we were among other energy signatures." The 4 officers looked at each other as the implications sank in. "The ugly design," Taehyun said slowly. "The bulbous drive section. The asymmetrical hull. They actually create the energy pattern diffraction that makes this possible. Our biggest flaw is actually our greatest strength," Juan whispered. "They laughed at our space potato," Hyunwoo added with growing excitement. Juan stood, her mind racing with possibilities. For the first time since taking command of the mocked vessel, she felt a surge of genuine hope. "Get me everything you have on hegemony sensor systems," she told Minji. "Taehyun, I want drive modifications drawn up by morning." Hyunwoo, tactical scenarios where this advantage would be most effective. Her officers nodded, already moving to their tasks. Juan walked to the small viewport in the mess hall. In the distance, she could see the sleek hegemony ships docked at the station, their predatory forms dormant for the night. "Laugh while you can," she said softly to the distant vessels. "Your empire just met its match in a potato." The Stellar Whisper hung in the emptiness of space, engines silent, lights dimmed. From the bridge, Captain Kim Ji-won watched the massive hegemony patrol cruiser passing less than 5 kilometers away. so close that she could make out the weapon ports along its sleek hull. "Status?" she asked quietly, though there was no way the hegemony vessel could hear them. Technician Choi Minji didn't look up from her console. "They're scanning this sector. Standard sweep pattern." A small smile played across her face. "They have no idea we're here." The discovery they'd made 3 weeks ago had been tested and confirmed in increasingly bold trials. First in the outer reaches of their home system, then at the border checkpoints, and now, deep within hegemony-controlled space. "They can't see us," Minji had explained during that first breakthrough, pointing to the sensor readings displayed on the lab screens. "The harmonic frequency from our drive creates a blind spot in hegemony scanning systems. It's like we're broadcasting on a channel their receivers aren't tuned to pick up." The realization had transformed the Stellar Whisper Asterisk's greatest embarrassment, its ugly asymmetrical design and bulbous drive section, into its most valuable feature. Engineer Park Tae-hyun had spent days fine-tuning the effect. "It's not perfect in visibility," he'd warned. "If they're looking directly at us with optical sensors, or if we move too quickly, they might notice something. But to their automated systems, we barely exist." Now, watching the hegemony ship glide past without slowing, Ju-won felt a thrill of triumph. The ship that had been mockingly called the Space Potato had become humanity's secret weapon. "They're moving out of sensor range," announced Commander Lee Hyun-woo from the tactical station. "No change in their alert status." "Take us in closer to the planet," Ju-won ordered. "Standard observation pattern." The Whisper moved silently toward the cloud-swirled world below. According to official hegemony records, Nexus 7 was a mining outpost with a small military presence, but intelligence suggested it might be something else entirely. As they entered orbit, the truth became clear. The night side of the planet blazed with lights, not mining operations, but vast prison complexes. Orbital scans revealed facilities housing thousands of beings. "Are those?" Hyunwoo began. "Not humans," confirmed Minji, studying the biological readings. "Multiple species, primarily Vel from the look of these signatures." The Vel were an insectoid species from a system 50 light-years from Earth. The hegemony had conquered them even before encountering humans. Little was known about them, except that they were said to have remarkable mathematical abilities. "Why keep them prisoner?" asked Tae-hyun. "Let's find out," Ju-won replied. 3 days later, after careful observation and planning, a small team from the Whisper made surface contact. Using a modified shuttle that incorporated the same sensor-evading technology as the main ship, they landed near one of the smaller compounds during a maintenance shift change. The team returned with both data and a representative, a Vel named Cure, who claimed to speak for many of the prisoners. The insectoid being stood taller than a human, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected light in prismatic patterns. Despite the alien appearance, the Vel's gestures conveyed both intelligence and wariness. In the ship's conference room, with only senior officers present, Cure explained the situation. "Your arrival is unexpected," the Vel said, mandibles clicking between words. "No ship has entered this system undetected in 15 cycles. Why are your people imprisoned here?" Ju-won asked. The compound eyes seemed to dim. "We refuse to provide what the hegemony demanded," which was mathematical solutions. The Vel perceive mathematical relationships differently than most species. "We see patterns where others do not." Tae-hyun leaned forward, intrigued. "What kind of patterns?" "Space-time curvature equations, hyperdimensional calculations, what you would call higher mathematics. The hegemony requires these calculations for their most advanced technologies." "They need you to do math for them?" Hyunwoo asked, sounding skeptical. Cure's upper limbs made a fluttering motion. "They cannot perceive what we perceive. They can use our equations, but not derive them. When we began withholding our work, they responded with coercion." The Vel studied the humans for a moment, then approached the viewport to observe the asterisk stellar whisper asterisk from inside. Your vessel, its configuration is fascinating. Kyr's limbs traced patterns in the air, unintentional brilliance. What do you mean? Asked Juan. Your ship exists in a perceptual gap, explained Kyr. The hegemony builds their technology on mathematical constants they believe universal. Your flawed design operates outside their paradigm. The Vel made a sound like dry leaves rustling. You have stumbled upon something we discovered long ago, that their mathematical foundation is incomplete. That conversation marked the beginning of an alliance. With Kyr's help, the asterisk Whispers asterisk crew enhanced their stealth capabilities further. In return, they began smuggling Vel prisoners off Nexus 7, a few at a time, transferring them to safe locations in human space. Over the following months, the asterisk Stellar Whisper asterisk conducted increasingly bold missions into hegemony territory. They discovered other prison worlds housing various species, each with unique abilities the hegemony exploited. They gathered intelligence, mapped secret installations, and began building a network of resistance among the conquered peoples. The ship that had once been openly mocked now moved like a ghost through enemy space. They observed fleet movements, weapon capabilities, and command structures. Information no human vessel had ever accessed before. In a massive space dock orbiting a gas giant, they watched as new hegemony warships were assembled. In a hidden research facility, they recorded tests of a planet-killing weapon. At a secret meeting of high-ranking officials, they listened as conquest plans for 3 more star systems were discussed. As their missions continued, the first signs of hegemony concern began to appear. The asterisk Whisper asterisk intercepted communications about unexplained anomalies, missing prisoners, and information leaks. They know something's happening, Hyanwu reported after decoding another transmission. But they don't know what. On the bridge of his command ship, Supreme Overseer Malk of the Hegemony slammed a clawed hand against his throne. Reports from 6 different star systems showed the same pattern: security breaches with no explanation. How is this possible? He demanded of his senior officers. Nothing can penetrate our detection grids. We have found no evidence of a breach in our systems, offered his chief of security. Yet the evidence suggests someone is accessing restricted areas. Perhaps it is internal resistance, suggested another officer. Slaves from the labor worlds. No, Malk cut him off. This is too coordinated, too precise. He stood, his tall frame towering over his subordinates. Something is out there, something we cannot see. He turned to the view screen showing star charts of the affected systems. Find this ghost ship, he commanded. Whatever it is, destroy it. I want every patrol doubled, every sensor recalibrated, every anomaly investigated. Back aboard the asterisk Stellar Whisper asterisk, now hiding in the shadow of a moon in a system far from Nexus 7, Captain Juan reviewed their next mission with her officers and their Vel allies. The hegemony is getting nervous, she said. They're increasing patrols everywhere we've been. But they still cannot detect us, Kyr noted. Their fundamental understanding is flawed. Even so, we should be more careful, cautioned Hyunmu. More patrols means more eyes, even if their sensors can't see us. Juan nodded. Agreed. But we have an opportunity now that we can't waste. She activated a holographic display showing a massive space station. The hegemony's main communications hub for this sector. If we can access it, we could monitor all their fleet movements. Finish Taeyun. Maybe even plant false information. And potentially locate more prison worlds, added Minji. Juan looked at each face around the table. It's our riskiest mission yet. But if we succeed, we'll have dealt the first real blow against the hegemony in decades. Kyr's compound eyes reflected the hologram. From mockery comes liberation, the Vel said softly. We will help you succeed. The asterisk Stellar Whisper asterisk, ugly, asymmetrical, and invisible to its enemies, prepared once again to slip through the darkness toward its target. The ship no one respected was about to change the course of a war that hadn't even been declared yet. The first explosion tore through the Hegemony fuel depot with shocking force. From the bridge of the Stellar Whisper Captain Kim Ji-won watched as secondary detonations rippled across the massive orbital facility. Emergency lights flickered on throughout the structure as atmosphere vented into space. Target destroyed. Weapons Officer Yoon Sung-hee reported, her voice steady. No casualties detected. They completed evacuation when the warning was received. Ji-won nodded with satisfaction. They always sent warnings before strikes. Just enough time for personnel to reach escape pods, but not enough to mount a defense or move critical supplies. Hegemony Response Fleet launching from the planet, announced Commander Lee Hyun-woo. Estimated arrival in 4 minutes. Take us out, standard exit vector, Ji-won ordered. Engage stealth systems. The Stellar Whisper turned away from the burning station. Its engines glowed briefly, then shifted to the special harmonic frequency that rendered them almost invisible to hegemony sensors. By the time the response fleet arrived, sweeping the area with scanners and weapons hot, the space potato was already slipping quietly into the darkness of space. It was their 7th successful strike in 2 months. What had begun as intelligence gathering had evolved into something more aggressive. The discovery of the hegemony's plans to strip 3 more human colony worlds of resources had pushed Ji-won to take action. With the help of their Vel allies, they had identified key targets that would damage the hegemony's operations without causing mass casualties. As the Whisper reached safe distance, Ji-won allowed herself a small smile. Damage assessment. Engineer Park Tae-yeon consulted his display. The depot was their main fuel distribution center for this sector. They'll have to reroute supply ships from at least 4 systems away. Military operations in this region will be hampered for weeks. And the message. Communications Officer Kang Do-yeon grinned. Broadcast successfully on all hegemony channels. Every ship and station in the sector received it. The message was simple. The days of unchallenged hegemony rule are over. It was signed. Humanity Resurgent. 3 days later, in a secure conference room deep within Earth's lunar military headquarters, Admiral Yang pounded his fist on the polished table. Captain Kim's tactics are effective but reckless. He complained to the assembled War Council. She's provoking the hegemony without authorization. 1 ship, acting without orders, risking everything we've built. The War Council, 6 admirals and generals who oversaw humanity's limited military forces, shifted uncomfortably. On the large display screen at the end of the room, footage from hegemony news sources showed the burning depot. Her actions have already triggered increased hegemony patrols in 3 sectors, continued Yang. They've implemented new security protocols at all major facilities. She's making them angry. Admiral Ba, the eldest of the council members, leaned forward. You're missing the point, Yang. She's making them afraid. Afraid of 1 ship. Of what they can't see, Ba replied. For the first time in 30 years, the hegemony doesn't feel invincible. And that changes everything. General Park, commander of the Colony Defense Forces, nodded in agreement. We're already seeing the effects. Hegemony tax collectors are suddenly more reasonable. Military patrols near our settlements have decreased as they concentrate forces around their own installations. But she's acting without authority, insisted Yang. Because we wouldn't have given her authority, Ba said quietly. We've been too cautious for too long. The council's discussion continued for hours, but a consensus gradually emerged. The Stellar Whispers campaigns would not be officially sanctioned, giving humanity plausible deniability, but neither would they be stopped. Aboard the Whisper now hiding in the atmosphere of a gas giant, while repairs were completed, the crew worked to enhance their advantages. With each mission, they learned more about exploiting the blind spots in hegemony detection systems. In the engineering bay, Taehyun and Minji huddled over a disassembled sensor array. Vel engineers moved around them, their four-arm dexterity allowing them to make adjustments too fine for human hands. "If we recalibrate at this frequency," Minji suggested, pointing to a display, "we might be able to scan them while remaining invisible ourselves." "Like seeing in the dark while they're blindfolded," Taehyun nodded. "Precisely," agreed Kerr, the Vel ambassador who had become a permanent advisor aboard the ship. "Your metaphor is apt. The hegemony has relied so long on their technological superiority that they cannot imagine alternatives exist." In a hegemony command center orbiting a fortress world, Regional Commander Vex paced before a wall of displays showing damaged facilities across his territory. 7 major strikes in 2 months, with no clear pattern except their devastating effectiveness. How can one ship cause so much damage? He demanded of his staff. How can it enter secure areas without triggering a single alarm? "We believe it uses some form of advanced stealth technology," offered his chief science officer. "Possibly a cloaking device." "Impossible. Our sensors can detect even the smallest energy fluctuations." And yet, the science officer gestured helplessly at the displays. Vex's scales flushed dark with anger. "I want that ship, whatever resources it takes, whatever methods required." He activated a communication channel to all hegemony forces in the sector. "Effective immediately, I am placing a bounty of 10,000 celestial credits on the vessel the humans call *Stellar Whisper*, or as our forces have named it, the Phantom Vessel. Capture preferred. Destruction acceptable." The hegemony's bounty only added to the growing legend of the ship. Throughout human space, people began to speak of the *Whisper* with pride rather than mockery. The space potato had become a symbol of resistance. 3 more successful strikes followed, each more daring than the last. The *Whisper* disabled a weapons research facility, destroyed a detention center, after evacuating the prisoners, and disrupted a major hegemony military exercise. Then came the transmission that changed everything. Communications Officer Kang Do-yeon was monitoring hegemony channels when he detected an unusual signal, heavily encrypted, on a frequency typically reserved for highest-level military communications. "I think I found something important," he told Juwon, working to break the encryption. "It's using quantum-locked protocols that should be impossible to intercept." "How are you receiving it, then?" Juwon asked. Do-yeon smiled. "Because Minji and the Vel modified our receivers based on mathematical principles the hegemony doesn't understand." Hours later, with the message finally decoded, Juwon gathered her senior staff in the secure briefing room. "The hegemony is setting a trap," she announced without preamble. "They plan to ambush us at Proxima Station." "How would they know we'd be there?" asked Hyunwoo, frowning. "Because someone told them." Juwon's expression was grim. The transmission came from Earth, from inside Lunar Command. A heavy silence fell over the room. "We have a traitor in Human Command," Taehyun said finally. "Someone who knows our mission profiles," added Sungyi. "Someone with access to our planned movements." Juwon nodded. "And someone high-ranking enough to communicate directly with Hegemony Command." "Admiral Yang," Do-yeon suggested. "He's been the most vocal opponent of our operations." "We can't know for certain," Juwon cautioned. "But whoever it is, they've told the hegemony that we'll be at Proxima Station in 3 days to gather intelligence on fleet movements." "We should avoid Proxima completely," said Hyunwoo. "Find another target." Juwon was quiet for a moment, considering. Then a slow smile spread across her face. "No, that's exactly what they expect us to do if we discover the trap." "You want to spring the trap deliberately?" Taehyun asked, surprised. "They're waiting for us at Proxima Station," she told her senior staff, eyes gleaming with determination. "And we're going to let them catch us." Kerr, who had been silent until now, made the clicking sound that passed for Vel laughter. "The hunter becomes the hunted. A most satisfying reversal." As the meeting broke up, Juwon remained at the table, studying the station schematics. The asterisk stellar whisper asterisk, once mocked, now feared, was about to face its greatest challenge. But as she had learned during the past months of impossible missions, sometimes the biggest disadvantage could become the greatest strength. All it took was looking at things differently. The asterisk stellar whisper asterisk dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima system, engines glowing bright against the darkness of space. Captain Kim Ji-won sat in her command chair, watching as the massive space station came into view on the main screen. Proxima Station was a hub of hegemony activity, a wheel-shaped structure with 6 massive docking arms extending outward like spokes. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the tension that filled the bridge. "No immediate alert signals," reported Communications Officer Kang Do-yeon. "They're maintaining normal traffic patterns." 12 hegemony warships detected, announced Commander Lee Hyun-woo from the tactical station. Positions match exactly with the intercepted transmission. They're hiding behind the station's larger moons, waiting. Ji-won nodded. The trap was set exactly as they had learned. 12 warships, far more firepower than the asterisk whisper asterisk could hope to combat directly. "Are they tracking us?" she asked. Engineer Park Tae-hyun checked his readings. "Not yet. We're running with standard engine configurations as planned. They'll detect us on normal scans any moment now." This was the risk. To spring the trap, they had to let themselves be seen. The asterisk whisper asterisk was approaching with its stealth systems disabled, appearing as vulnerable as any ordinary vessel. "Hegemony command ship is transmitting," Do-yeon reported. "They're ordering all vessels to clear the area, claiming a security exercise. They're clearing the stage for our destruction," Hyun-woo said grimly. Ji-won leaned forward. "Execute Phase 1. Technician Choi Min-ji's fingers flew across her console, transmitting fake distress signal now, giving the appearance of engine malfunction. The asterisk whisper asterisk slowed, its engines flickering as if damaged. It was a performance designed to look convincing to hegemony observers, a crippled ship, easy prey. "They've spotted us," announced Hyun-woo. "Warships are moving into blocking positions. They're powering weapons." On the tactical display, the 12 hegemony vessels emerged from hiding, forming a deadly net around the asterisk whisper asterisk. Each was at least 3 times their size, bristling with weapons. A transmission cut through the ship's communications system. "Human vessel asterisk stellar whisper asterisk," came the voice of the hegemony commander. "You are surrounded. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Ji-won exchanged glances with her officers. Everything was proceeding as expected. "They're deploying fighter squadrons," Hyun-woo warned. 50 small craft launching from the capital ships. "Right on schedule," Ji-won replied. She activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, prepare for Phase 2. Throughout the asterisk whisper asterisk, crew members moved to battle stations. In the engine room, Vel engineers made final adjustments to systems that had been modified over weeks of preparation. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Yang," Do-yeon reported, his expression darkening at the name of the suspected traitor. "Put him through," Ji-won ordered. Admiral Yang's face appeared on the screen, his expression a mixture of triumph and false concern. "Captain Kim, I've just been informed of your situation. Power down immediately. The hegemony is willing to negotiate your surrender." "Thank you for your concern, Admiral," Ji-won replied coolly. "We'll handle this our way. Don't be a fool. They'll destroy you." Ji-won cut the transmission. "Is everyone in position?" "All systems ready," confirmed Tae-hyun. "Deploy the packages," she ordered. From the asterisk whispers asterisk cargo holds, dozens of small objects were ejected into space. Simple metal containers that drifted outward in seemingly random patterns. The hegemony fleet began closing in, tightening their noose around the apparently helpless ship. "Fighter squadrons approaching weapons range," warned Hyun-woo. "Weapons Officer Yoon Sung-hee, you may fire when ready," Ji-won said. Sung-hee's hands moved confidently across her console. "Target locked," she announced, but not on the ships. Instead of targeting the approaching hegemony vessels, the *Whispers* weapons systems locked onto a different target entirely: the dense asteroid belt that circled the outer reaches of the Proxima system. Firing now. The *Whisper* released a series of precisely calibrated energy pulses. They streaked across space, striking selected asteroids with pinpoint accuracy. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the first asteroid began to fragment. The energy pulses had been calibrated to the exact resonant frequency needed to shatter the specific mineral composition of these asteroids. As the first one broke apart, its fragments struck others, creating the chain reaction. "Phase 3, ordered Juwan. "Execute now." Minji activated the modified drive system. The *Stellar Whisper* disappeared from hegemony sensors, seeming to vanish. At the same time, the small containers they had deployed began emitting the same harmonic frequency. "What's happening?" demanded the hegemony commander, his voice cutting through on an open channel. "Where did they go?" The asteroid field was now releasing thousands of fragments, a deadly cloud expanding toward the hegemony fleet. But the fragments, affected by the energy pulses, had taken on the same harmonic frequency as the *Whisper*, making them invisible to hegemony sensors. The first fragments struck a hegemony destroyer with devastating force. To the hegemony crews, it appeared as if their ships were being attacked by an invisible enemy. More fragments followed, tearing through hulls and disabling weapon systems. 3 hegemony warships severely damaged, reported Hyunwoo, unable to keep the amazement from his voice. 2 more taking significant hits. "They're firing blindly," added Doyeon, "shooting at empty space." The *Whisper* moved silently through the chaos, untouched and unseen. The trap had been turned against its makers. As the hegemony fleet struggled to respond to an attack they couldn't detect or understand, new signals appeared on the *Whispers* sensors. "Multiple ships dropping out of FTL," announced Hyunwoo. "Human signatures, 12 vessels." On the main screen, a dozen ships appeared at the edge of the system. They were a motley collection: converted cargo vessels, older military craft, even some civilian ships retrofitted with weapons. But each had been modified with technology shared by the *Whispers* crew and their Vel allies. "Right on time," Juwon said with satisfaction. When Admiral Yang had revealed himself as a traitor by setting up the ambush, Juwon had reached out to other captains she trusted, officers who had been silently dissatisfied with humanity's subservience to the hegemony. Together, they had planned this moment. "All Allied ships reporting ready," said Doyeon. "They're asking for attack coordinates." "Send them the designated targets," Juwon ordered. Then she opened a channel to all vessels. "Begin attack pattern Alpha. Remember, they can't track you if you maintain a harmonic frequency." The human ships moved into battle formation, each one now partially invisible to hegemony sensors. They struck with precision, targeting the already damaged enemy vessels. The hegemony commander's voice came through again, this time with undisguised panic. "All ships, defensive formation. Where are they coming from?" Jiwon opened a channel directly to the hegemony command ship. "You mocked our ship," she broadcast on an open frequency. "Now let's see if your empire can adapt as well as we did." The battle that followed lasted less than an hour. 7 hegemony warships were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 5 retreated, limping away with significant damage. The human fleet suffered minimal losses. 2 ships damaged, none destroyed. As the last hegemony vessel fled the system, cheers erupted throughout the *Stellar Whisper*. Officers embraced. Technicians wept with joy. For the first time in 30 years, humans had won a decisive victory against their oppressors. In the ship's communication center, decoder Han Jinwoo called for Juwon's attention. A young officer who rarely spoke above a whisper, his voice now carried an unusual urgency. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data streams from the Hegemony command ship, he said, eyes wide with excitement. During the battle, their emergency protocols triggered an automatic distress signal. The signal contained encrypted coordinates for rendezvous points. Standard procedure, Hanwoo noted, joining them. Yes, but one set of coordinates doesn't match any known Hegemony outpost or base, Jinwoo continued. It's in a star system that's not on any of our charts. He displayed a star map, highlighting an unmarked region of space. According to the encryption pattern, this location has the highest security classification in their entire network. Juan studied the coordinates, realization dawning. The Hegemony Central Command, she said softly. Their hidden capital. The officers gathered around the display, the implications clear to all. For decades, the location of the Hegemony's Central Command had been the greatest mystery in known space. Some believed it was merely a myth, that the Empire operated through a network of regional headquarters rather than a single nerve center. If we can find their Central Command, Taehyun began. We can strike at the heart of the Empire, finished Juan. The Battle of Proxima Station would soon become legend throughout human space, the day that a single ugly ship and a handful of allies had defeated a superior hegemony force. But for the crew of the Stellar Whisper *, it was just the beginning. The ship that had once been mockingly called a space potato had become humanity's greatest hope. The vast emptiness at the edge of charted space suddenly filled with ships. They appeared in groups of 3 and 4, dropping out of faster-than-light travel at precisely timed intervals. First came the human vessels, converted military ships, armed transports, and vessels of unusual design that mimicked aspects of the Stellar Whisper's distinctive profile. Then arrived the ships of the Vel, their crystalline hulls catching starlight in rainbow patterns. Following them were vessels of the Morai, a gaseous species whose transparent ships housed their swirling cloud forms. Last came the ships of 4 other formerly subjugated species, each with their own unique designs. In total, 78 ships gathered in this empty region of space. At the center of the formation waited the Stellar Whisper *. Its asymmetrical hull and bulbous drive section no longer objects of mockery but symbols of hope. On the Whisper's bridge, Captain Kim Juwon surveyed the fleet with a mixture of pride and apprehension. In the 6 months since the Battle of Proxima Station, everything had changed. News of the victory had spread throughout human space and beyond. Other species suffering under hegemony rule had reached out, offering support and seeking alliance. Fleet assembly complete, reported Commander Lee Hyunwoo. All ships reporting ready. Bring the captains online, Juwon ordered. The main view screen filled with faces, human and alien. Some she knew personally, others only by reputation. All had risked everything to be here. Thank you for coming, she began. Today we strike at the heart of the hegemony. For some of you, this fight has lasted centuries. For humans, decades. But for all of us, it ends today. She activated a holographic display showing their target. A massive star system hidden behind a nebula cloud. At its center orbited a red giant star, and around it, an artificial ring structure nearly the size of a small planet. The hegemony's Central Command, she continued, hidden from the rest of the galaxy, protected by automated defenses and a fleet twice the size of ours. A Vel captain's mandibles clicked as he spoke. Their numbers are greater, yes, but their understanding is limited. Exactly, agreed Juwon. The hegemony rose to power through technological theft. They've convinced the galaxy of their superiority, but their foundation is built on stolen knowledge they barely understand. She gestured to the holographic display. Their defenses all operate on the same principles, the same mathematical frameworks that our ships can now bypass. They expect us to attack directly. Instead, we'll use their blind spots against them. For the next hour, she outlined the battle plan developed by the combined strategic minds of 6 species. When she finished, a human captain raised a concern. This plan risks everything on a single assault, he said. If we fail, there will be no second chance. If we fail, replied Juan, there would be no second chance anyway. The hegemony now knows their vulnerability. They're already working to adapt their technology. This is our only opportunity. The fleet moved out, using the Whispers stealth technology to approach the nebula undetected. As they entered the cloud, visibility dropped to almost nothing, but their modified sensors, designed with mathematical principles, guided them safely through. When they emerged on the other side, the hegemony's central system lay before them. The massive ring structure gleamed in the red light of the giant star, surrounded by defensive platforms and patrolling warships. They haven't detected us yet, whispered Engineer Park Taeyeon, as if afraid the enemy might hear through the vacuum of space. Begin Phase 1, ordered Juan. Throughout the Coalition fleet, ships activated special devices designed by the combined scientific teams. The devices emitted energy on frequencies that created interference patterns in hegemony sensor systems, not merely hiding the ships, but creating false readings that showed the fleet approaching from the opposite direction. The hegemony response was immediate. Defensive platforms turned, warships moved to intercept the phantom threat. Weapons fired at empty space. Phase 2, Juan commanded. Half the Coalition fleet broke formation, each ship targeting specific hegemony vessels and facilities with weapons that exploited the same harmonic vulnerabilities. They struck with devastating precision. Communications arrays exploded, power cores shut down, weapon systems failed. On the main defensive ring, alarms blared as systems failed one after another. Inside the hegemony command center, Supreme Overseer Malk watched in horror as his defenses crumbled. How is this possible? He demanded. Where are they attacking from? We can't locate them, his chief of security shouted. Sensors show them everywhere and nowhere. Launch all remaining ships, Malk ordered. Every vessel we have. From hangars around the ring, hundreds of hegemony warships emerge. They formed a defensive sphere around the command center, weapons ready, but with no clear target. Aboard the Stellar Whisper Juan watched the enemy deployment. They're exactly where we want them, she told her crew. Execute Phase 3. The Coalition fleet regrouped, forming a sphere of their own that surrounded the hegemony forces. Then, simultaneously, every ship activated modified versions of the Whispers drive system. The harmonic frequency shifted, and suddenly, the entire Coalition fleet became visible to hegemony sensors. Let them see us, Juan said. Let them see exactly who has come to end their empire. She opened a channel to the hegemony command center. This is Captain Kim Juan of the Stellar Whisper We offer you one chance to surrender. On the view screen, Supreme Overseer Malk appeared. His scales were dark with rage. You dare to threaten the eternal hegemony. We conquered 1,000 worlds before your species learned to leave its planet. And yet here we are. Juan replied calmly. Your sensors can now see our fleet. You are surrounded. Your defensive systems are compromised. Surrender, and no more lives need be lost. Never, hissed Malk. We will destroy you all. He cut the transmission. Moments later, the hegemony fleet opened fire. But the Coalition was ready. Their ships, operating with perfect coordination, executed maneuvers that should have been impossible, moving through gaps in the hegemony formation, striking critical systems, then shifting back to partial invisibility. It was not a battle but a systematic dismantling. The Coalition lost ships, 12 in the first wave, 9 more in the second, but the hegemony losses were catastrophic. Their formation broke apart as ship after ship went dark or exploded. 3 hours into the battle, only Malk's massive flagship and its escort vessels remained operational. The Coalition fleet surrounded them, weapons locked. They're hailing us, announced Communications Officer Kang Do-yeon. On screen, Juan ordered. Malk appeared again, his arrogance replaced by disbelief. How? He asked simply. How have you done this? By learning to see differently, Juan answered. By questioning what we were told was absolute truth. She stood, facing the hegemony leader directly. Your empire is built on mockery and theft. You take from others, claim their knowledge as your own, then use it to oppress them. We offer something better: collaboration between equals. The terms of surrender were transmitted. The hegemony would release all subjugated worlds. Their military would be disbanded. Their technologies, most stolen from conquered species, would be returned to their originators. As Malk reluctantly agreed to the terms, cheers erupted throughout the coalition fleet. Centuries of oppression had ended in a single day. In the following months, the former hegemony territories reorganized into the Galactic Cooperative, an alliance of equal species sharing knowledge and resources. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered on a neutral planet to sign the founding charter. At the center of the new government's capital city, a monument was erected, a perfect replica of the stellar whisper asterisk, its asymmetrical design and bulbous drive section preserved in gleaming metal. Beneath it, a simple inscription in multiple languages: never judge by appearance. Innovation thrives where convention is questioned. The stellar whisper asterisk itself continued to serve, now as the flagship of the Cooperative's exploration fleet. Captain Kim Juan remained its commander, though she was offered higher positions. I belong on this ship, she told Admiral Ba during the promotion ceremony. It may not be pretty, but it's home. Ba smiled. Sometimes the most valuable things don't look valuable at first glance. As the whisper asterisk prepared for its first mission beyond known space, Engineer Park Tae-yun found Juan in the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. Did you ever imagine this? He asked, gesturing to the fleet of ships gathered around them. Vessels of 6 different species, all preparing to explore together. No, she admitted. When they mocked our ship, called it a potato, laughed at its design, I just wanted to prove them wrong. And instead you changed the galaxy. Juan shook her head. We changed the galaxy. All of us who saw potential where others saw only flaws. Throughout that galaxy, on planets still celebrating their freedom, the story spread and grew. Children of a dozen species played with toy versions of the famous ship. History classes taught the battle of the hegemony ring. Engineers studied the principles that had made the impossible victory possible. But the heart of the story remained the same: how an ugly little ship, mocked and dismissed by everyone, had changed the course of history. How something deemed worthless had proven invaluable. How seeing differently had saved them all. On the bridge of the stellar whisper asterisk, Captain Kim Juan gave the order to depart. The asymmetrical ship, once ridiculed, now revered, turned toward unexplored space, its unusual drive glowing with energy as it led the way into a new era.